Hello all, we are back for another exciting lesson in equalities. So today, remember this is unit 6, not 7, I don't know why it says 7. But today we are learning compound inequalities, which is really quite easy. So let's go ahead and get into it. So compound inequalities, that's our vocab. Compound inequalities are two inequalities joined together by either the word and or the word or. Okay, and what they do, it's basically giving us two rules to follow for all our solutions rather than one. So instead of saying x is greater than 3, we might say x is greater than 3 and x is less than 4. So it has to be bigger than 3 but less than 4. Or you could say like x is greater than 3 or x is less than negative 2. So it can either be bigger than 3 or it can be smaller than negative 2. Can't be anything in between. Okay? But let's go ahead and try an example. Here's what they look like just before we even try a real example. These are examples. I'm putting the recording in the screen just so I'm aware of the time. Okay, so here are some examples. So like you might get a problem like this where it says 2x is less than 4 or 2x can be greater than negative 2. To do this, you're still going to solve these inequalities the exact same way. Okay, so that's one example. Here's another one with the word and. They could be two separate inequalities, and they just tell you and, so it's got to be within both of those parameters. Another one, again, the word and. Now, with this word and, I want you to look at the x side. X minus 2, x minus 2. Okay? So when that happens, you can write it with the word and, or you could actually write it like this. This is the other option, where you kind of just merge them into one big thing. And all it really says is that x minus 2 is going to be bigger or equal to negative 3, which is what this side says. But it also has to be smaller than or equal to 8, which is what this one says. So we kind of just merge them together with their common side in the middle. Okay? So here is an actual example, though. Oh no, just kidding. It's not. I'm so smart. So this says solving compound inequalities. Let's put it over here. Yeah. Solving compound inequalities is just like solving a single inequality, except there's two. You need to solve each inequality separately and then use the same word, whatever was in the problem, and or. Okay? And then, ooh, this is very small. There we go. Not small, it's very low. If there is no word in the compound inequality, like our last example, the one that was all kind of merged together, we can start solving in the middle and do the inverse operations to both the left and the right side of the inequality. So you could just leave it the way it is, except in these notes, I'm going to show you a way of separating them and then solving them that way and then putting them back together. And then in class, I'll show you how to just work with it without separating and putting it back together. Okay? So now here's an example. Yay. So we have to solve the compound inequality, graph it, and write it in set builder notation. Okay? And here is our problem. We have b minus 6 is greater than or equal to negative 9, or 7b is less than negative 28. Okay. So we have two inequalities. We're just going to go ahead and solve them for v. So we're going to start on this one. So here, in order to get v by itself, I have to add 6 to both sides, leaving me with v is greater than or equal to negative 3. Over here, to get v by itself, I must divide both sides by 7, leaving me with v is less than negative 4. And then since I had the word or in between it, I bring it down to my answer. Okay? Now, when we check these things, when you pick a number that works for both of these, you're going to check them into both of these and make sure both are true. Okay? So let's talk about graphing. To graph this stuff, we're just going to put two graphs on one number line. That's all we're doing. Okay? So v is greater than or equal to negative 3. That means on negative 3, we're going to put a closed dot and point to the right. Where v is less than negative 4, we're going to put an open dot and point to the left. Pretty easy. Okay? Or statements give us two different graphs. Alright. And then our set builder notation, we do it the exact same way. It's just the set of v's such that, and then we just write the full rule, all of the rules for it. v is greater than or equal to -3, or v is less than -4. That's all it is. Do I have more stuff? Oh, this would be if you were going to write it in interval notation. With interval notation, if it's greater than -3, that means it's going to infinity. So it's not, that should have been forget this, don't worry about this. It was wrong anyway. All right, let's go on to our next example. So here's an example of a compound inequality where it's all mushed together, okay? So when this is mushed together like this is an and statement. So when it's all one big thing, that's an and statement. So we know it's an and we're going to go ahead and split it up. So to split this up, we're going to take the first number and the middle part and make that into one inequality. So everything surrounding the one inequality, like that. And then what's left is the middle part and the end of it. And that's our second inequality. So now we have two inequalities. And then we just go ahead and solve them the same way. We would multiply both sides by 9. Here we would also multiply both sides by 9, which gives us properties fade out. There we go. Thanks. Now go away. Let's see if it wants to work. There we go. Giving us -9 is less than a, and a is less than 0. Now to merge that back into 1, so it's no longer saying and, but we know it means it, we just go ahead and put them back together. So take out the word and then the variable will be going in the middle. So -9 is less than a, which is less than 0. That's it. Now to graph this, we are graphing these two inequalities. Oop, come on. Ew. It really doesn't want to work now. So this one and the a is less than 0. Okay? So to graph that, we're going to put a dot on the -9. We're going to put a dot on the 0, an open circle on both of them. And they're going to point in that direction. But when we do this, why is it a closed circle? Oh, goodness. That's supposed to be an open circle. Please make sure it is open. I can't even fix it right now, which is really annoying. And things are just popping up and going away and weird. Okay. Open circle, open circle. Make sure it's open on yours. Now, because it has to be between -9 and 0, I can't extend this line past 0. Okay? Same thing, I can't extend this arrow past the -9. So all I can do is connect them. Nope, don't care about that. So set builder notation. You can either write it as your two separate inequalities or as your one big inequality. It doesn't matter. Okay? I hope I explained that well. Remember, if you have any questions at any point, please write them down. I'd be happy to answer them in class. Okay? Now all we have left is our try on your owns, solve the compound inequality, and write in step builder notation. But for my honors kiddos, you also need to write it in interval notation as well. Okay? So please go back to your notes and think about what that means, and we will go over it next class as well. Okay? So here is the problem. I don't know why it's not showing up for you. There's the problem. You have x over 3 is less than 3 and -4x is less than 28. So pause the video, actually work it out. Don't just copy down my answer, because that's not how you learn. That's how you're able to copy things, which you are not a copy machine, so you need to have a brain. Okay? And go ahead and work it out. Solve it, graph it, write it in step builder notation. When you come back, I will have the answers for you. Okay? So pause now. Okay, so when you solve this, hopefully you did them both separately. Okay? Because these you can't merge back together because they're not the same. Actually, you could merge it back together. Just kidding. But anyway, you should have gotten... Ooh, why are you not showing up? Ugh! This is like an epic fail today, isn't it? Thanks, guys. Properties? None. Oh, it just disappeared now altogether. Perfect. Gotta love the fail aspect of it, guys. Alright, this one would have been x is less than 9. I don't know why I didn't do that from the beginning, but anyway, x is less than 9. And statement means we have two connected graphs. Set below notation would look like that, where you could have merged them together if you wanted to. But our lines would look like this. This would be our graph, okay? Alright. Moving on to the last one, the next try on your own. Same thing, solve the compound inequality, graph it, write it in step below notation. Honors kiddos, you're writing it in interval notation as well, and I just remembered I didn't show that. So for my honors kiddos, you should have had -7 to 9, because that was the smallest number it could be, that's the biggest number it could be. Alright, so this is an OR statement. Alright, so you're going to go ahead and solve this, and then graph it, write it in step below notation. So pause the video now. Okay, I don't know why I paused that long, but we're going to go ahead and solve it. So you should have, you should have gotten, this is a big chunk of it. I don't know why it's that low. But you should have gotten x is less than -1, or x can be greater than or equal to 4, which you would write out this way in step below notation. In interval notation, when you have to write an interval notation for two separate ones, you need two separate interval notations. So x is less than -1, meaning I can go all the way to -infinity and stop at -1, not including either of them. Or x is greater than or equal to 4, I can start at 4 and go all the way to positive infinity. And to graph that, I have two separate graphs. Open circle going from -1 to -infinity, and a closed circle on 4 going to positive infinity. But that's it. Pretty easy, if you ask me. But I know you're not asking me. So, make sure if you have questions, please write them down and ask me during class. I want to be able to help you, so I need those questions. Alright? But anyway, that's it. So, I'll see you guys later. Bye!